Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Will Tran with the Filmmakers Code. Today we are doing a full-on After Effects tutorial for the Everything Everywhere All at Once verse jump effect. So the best thing about this is that this can all be done in vanilla After Effects, no plugins needed. Okay, first thing we need to do is talk about our assets. Which assets do you need? So the first thing you need to do is grab footage of yourself on a green screen. So right here, I'm sitting in a chair and I am acting in slow motion. Looks kind of ridiculous, but that is kind of what you need to do in order for this effect to look good. Something that I would fix about this if I were doing this again is stand up, don't sit in a chair, because it gives you up and down motion, which I did not have because I was sitting in a chair. We did that in the student film as well, where we had our actor sit in the chair. We shouldn't have done that, had him stand up and just kind of move up and down. Anyways, yes, literally act like you're flying through your dimensions or wherever you're going. Get your acting skills out. Yes. Make sure your green screen is perfectly well lit from right to left. You can see there is a bit of a gradient that I bright to a darker green. What I would do if I did this again, shine another light right here to make it more even, but this is good enough for the purpose of what we're doing. Next thing you're gonna need to get is a ton of footage of you walking down streets or pathways or wherever it is you're going. What you're going to be looking for is leading lines. We're always walking down streets and sidewalks, you can see, so the line is always going straight. I even shot behind a bar which had leading lines with this counter, you can see. Shot the other way too. Yes, and preferably you have a stabilizer. If you don't have a stabilizer, just try to keep it as still as you possibly can. And then the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to cut together all of those clips and have it sped up as fast as you possibly can, or to whatever speed that you like. We speed ramped it to about this length, and you're going to cut them all together. And it doesn't need to look perfect, and if it loops a little bit, that's okay, because it's going to be blurry anyways. But yes, just get as much of that footage as you possibly can. And then cut it all together, and this should be your background. Then once you have that, a nice touch that Daniel said in the movie that they had anime Speedlines. You can find these off of Storyblocks or on YouTube, wherever it is, for free. Storyblocks isn't free, but you know you can probably find this on YouTube somewhere. Typically, you're going to look for speed lines on a black background. It's just easier to key out that way. That's all you really need. So let's hop into it. Let's get our footage and let's import it all into After Effects and our background. Those are the only. It's crazy. That's the only three things you really need. So. All right, we're going to drag our footage into a new composition right here. And I'm going to shorten it down just to around here. And I'm going to go all the way to the end right here. I'm going to trim my composition to the work area. All right, so this is the footage that you have right here. I'm going to be flying through these. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just go for the key. So in the Effects and Presets folder, if you don't see that, Window and Effects and Presets, we're going to use this preset right here, Key Light plus Key Cleaner plus Advanced Spill Suppressor. So we're just going to drag that right onto our clip. I'm also going to go back to my project. I'm going to rename my composition to Jump. Or Verse Jump. There we go. All right. We're going to click on our image. Get to Effect Controls right here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the screen color with this eyedropper right here. I'm going to click on this green. So this is the problem, right, where I had an uneven gradient. Remember, like I said, you're going to have to get your green screen as lit as you possibly can. All right, now we're going to go into Combined Matte. So now it comes down to going into my screen matte and playing around with all these settings right here. Your settings are never going to be the same. You're just going to have to play around with it, and you're going to try to get rid of all of this white around your subject. Anything that is black is transparent, and anything is white is not transparent. So my figure right here is white, so therefore that is not going to be transparent. All right, let's clip the blacks a little bit. I'm going to clip roll back a little. I'll soften it up just a little bit. Yeah, just play around with all of this. I usually work with clip white and clip black and softness just to get my image as good looking as possible. Now let's take a look at that. which is, this is looking okay, but obviously we have this strange outline around me right here. So the next thing I need to do is turn on the advanced spill suppressor. If you are more advanced in After Effects, you're probably looking at me just going like, why are you doing this with all this? Why don't you use this kind of thing right here? Look, I know I'm not the best at After Effects, but I'm just trying to keep it simple for everybody. So please don't come and butcher me if you don't like my methods. All right, I cleaned up this edge radius just a little bit, played around with it. Now I'm going to go into advanced spill suppressor, set it to ultra, see what happens. I'm trying to get this tolerance up. Man, get my spill range to come up a little bit. This edge right here is kind of annoying me. Where is the shrink? I just saw it. Shrink / grow. See, that's too much. I might just bring it down a couple of points, maybe -0.2. All right, there you go. That kind of got rid of it. It doesn't honestly have to be perfect. Now we have this isolated image. The next thing I'm going to do is just make a garbage mask. That's something I should have done earlier, actually, is I'm going to just mask around my subject. Because the reason for this, because I want to get rid of this light right here. So there we go. And then once we turn up all of our settings, now we don't have that light getting in the way right here. Cool. Now that we have this isolated image of myself just looking like an idiot screaming on a chair, now we're going to add a background that we shot earlier and edited together. I'm just going to scale that to the frame size. And so this is what it looks like right now. It doesn't look perfect just yet. Obviously, it just kind of looks like me pasted on top of a background. So now we need to add all of these effects on top of it to make it look a little bit better. All right, the first thing I like to do in this kind of effect is actually speed ramp this layer of me just freaking out. So we're gonna go here, and I'm going to enable time remapping. And now I'm just gonna take this right keyframe and speed it up just a little bit. So now it's just probably gonna be a little bit faster. All right, so it kind of looks like this. Again, kind of ridiculous, but we're gonna make this look a lot better, trust me. Now that we have that, let's start spicing this up a little bit. So the first thing I'm gonna do, add an effect called radial blur. We can use CC radial blur right here. And then I'm going to change the type to straight zoom. I'm gonna bring the amount up a little bit so you can see how that adds a nice looking effect right here. It adds motion blur to your background, so it looks like it's moving faster. You can try different kinds like fading zoom, maybe even try centered zoom. Makes it a little weird right here, but you'd have to probably scale up a little bit. I'm actually gonna go with fading zoom. Fading zoom looks a little bit better. So this ends up looking better. I'm also going to take this effect. And so since I saw my hand get cut off right here, I'm going to click on my layer right here, my top layer, press F, and I'm going to bring up the mask feather just a little bit. So that way it's not as noticeable whenever my hands get cut off. I could also just extend it out a little bit if I have to. So, all right. Now the next thing I'm going to do is also click on my top layer. I'm also gonna grab CC radial blur on it. I'm gonna put it to fading zoom, and I'm just gonna add a little bit. So now it's looking a little bit better. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Now, that is what that looks like right now. So, like I said in the overview video, the first video, the Daniels in the movie had 9 LED panels to act as the lighting for Michelle Yeoh when she's flying through all these dimensions. As indie filmmakers, we didn't have that kind of budget, so we did it on a 5-cent budget, remember? So The unfortunate part right now, because we didn't have those 9 LED panels to work with to act as the color grade, we need to color grade every single environment, because you see I'm not matching the colors and exposures of all the environments that I'm in. So let's do it. We're going to select my top layer. I'm actually going to rename this. I am doing this really out of order. Please forgive me. I named this actor, and I had this one named background. So I'm going to select my actor layer. I'm going to effect, color correction, and I'm going to work with hue and saturation. So we're going to have to keyframe quite a lot of things, but this is the basic stuff right here. You could use other more advanced color correction things. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is select channel range. All right, this is actually looking a little bit too cluttered, so I'm going to click on my actor layer, press U, and that's just going to show me all of the keyframes for all the different effects. Okay, so from this frame to this frame, I'm going to set another keyframe for hue and saturation, and then I'm going to just adjust the image to where it needs to go. There's more blue right here. So on this keyframe, I'm going to set my settings for this again. Also, I'm going to desaturate it a little bit, maybe make it a little more green. And then once again, set a keyframe one frame before the next cut. Next cut, I'm going to set another keyframe. Now I'm going to reset myself back to 0. And you obviously just have to do this all the way through for all of the locations that you shot. So one frame before the next cut, one frame forward. I'm using page up and page down to go between frames. Set another keyframe. Now I'm going to bring it back up. Make it a little more greenish. So now you have more or less correct colors. I'm not going too crazy on these colors right now, not like what we did in the final film, but you know what I mean. Just play around with your colors and try to match your scene a little bit. This looks a little bit too much. All right, so now I'm gonna make this look a little bit more dynamic. I'm probably gonna keyframe brightness and everything like that. So I'm going to add another keyframe at the beginning, maybe right here. I'm going to bring the lightness down because I'm passing by a tree right here or something. So I get out into the streets and it get a little brighter. So I move forward, adjust the master lightness, bring it up a little bit. You can see it's going to automatically create keyframes as I make adjustments. So, and then maybe make it just a little bit brighter right here. So what I'm doing is just trying to make it look a little bit more dynamic instead of it just snapping between colors. So right here, pretty dark. I'm going to bring up the brightness maybe right here because I'm running. That's too much because I'm going by lights kind of in this area. Then as I get to the end right here, it's getting a little darker. And then there you go. There we go. Keep it moving and just work your way all the way through. Yeah, so you can get as detailed as you want with this. I'm just going really rough around the edges right here just to show you what you guys need to do. So therefore, you can see my layer is now changing colors depending on the environment and the location, so it looks a little bit more dynamic. Cool, so now we have this. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is now add in those anime speed lines that I was talking about. So we got these anime speed lines, drop them on top, name it speed lines. Then I'm going to set the blending mode to screen. So we're gonna click toggle switches and modes if you don't have this. And it says normal right here. We're gonna change the blending mode to screen. And you can make these, again, as prominent as you want to. I'm going to make it a little less prominent than this. This is too much. So I'm going to press T for opacity. I don't know why it's T. Bring down that opacity just a little bit. Maybe a lot. I'll make it really subtle. 15% maybe. So that adds another bit of spice to it. I might even add just a little bit of a mask around me right here. Because I don't want the speed lines to cross over my hands too much and my body right here. So I'm just gonna make a mask, and then I'm going to press M on the speed lines, and I'm going to change it to inverted. I'm gonna hold Shift and press F so I can add the feathering to the bottom right here. Feathered out a little bit. So there we go. What does that look like? Cool. Look at that. Pretty cool. All right, now, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to right click, hit new, and adjustment layer. And then I'm going to add another CC radial blur right on top of it. I'm gonna rename this to blur. Change it again to fading zoom. Keyframe the amount. Click on blur, press U so I can see the keyframes. I go to the very end of the clip, and I'm going to bring it up a lot. See, it looks kind of scary, but as you can see, as we go by, as we progress throughout the clip, you can see that the blur gets stronger as we go, which is what we're looking for. But as you can see, my face is getting too blurred and I can't see my face. So I'm going to click on the blur. I'm going to click and hold on this rectangle tool and go into the ellipse tool. I'm going to just draw a quick mask around my face. I'm going to invert that mask. And I don't want that edge to be so hard, so I'm going to press F on the blur and bring up that feather. And then now the blur increases around my face as opposed to on my face. As you can see, I might bring up that feather a little bit more. All right, look at that. So that's looking pretty cool. It's coming together a little bit. Now, next thing I'm going to do is pre-compose everything. So I'm going to select everything, right click, and hit pre-compose, and name this jump, something like that. So now we have this. Now everything we just did is now done, is now put together in one layer. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to right click, effect, color correction, curves. Then we're going to go to the very beginning of the clip, keyframe the curves. I'm also going to select the clip and press U so I can see those keyframes again. Go to the very end, going to set another keyframe. Now I'm going to make a very sharp S curve. So I'm going to bring the highlights up really high, and I'm going to bring the shadows really low. So towards the beginning, not as contrasty, but as we progress, it gets really contrasty. Look at that. Nice. Look at that. All right. Now, we're adding the last little pieces here. We're going to press P, select the clip, press P, hit position, and go all the way to the very end, and keyframe another position. Now the next thing we're going to need to look for is the wiggler. I actually don't see the wiggler right here anywhere, so I'm going to go into Window, Wiggler. Boom. So we're going to select these two key points, hold Shift and click, and then I'm not gonna touch these right here. I'm going to go into the wiggler, and I'm probably gonna bring up the frequency to, like, let's say something like 50, and then let's go to like 10 magnitude, and let's hit apply. And now what I'll do is just wiggles my track. Cool, and I'm seeing the alpha channel behind that, so I'm just going to press S and scale it up just a little bit, just so I don't get those. See, it is just wiggling the track a little bit. Pressing P, opening this up. Yeah, that is actually not enough, so I'm going to Control Z that. And I'm going to bring the magnitude maybe up to, let's go up to 30, see what happens. And now let's apply that. All right, that's looking a little better. So let's press S, scale it up a little bit so we don't see the alpha channel behind it. All right, cool. That's a little bit too much, but hey, play around with it, whatever wiggle you like. And then one more thing, I'm going to add motion blur. Click this button, and since I don't have this button, I'm going to switch back here. Click on this button right here for motion blur. So now it's going to bring the motion blur up, so now that the image is moving, is now shaking around. Looking awesome. I'm still seeing a little bit of alpha channel, so I'm going to go to maybe 106. There we go. Look at that. Awesome. Now you can leave it like this if you'd like, but I'm going to add one more little bit that's going to take some time, but I'm going to do it anyways because it makes it look cool. So what we did in our film, the student film, we actually cut around a whole lot. So I'm just going to be duplicating parts right here, maybe cutting back to certain things. Maybe I'll duplicate this by pressing Control D. So that way I can cut around in the middle of the jump. Yeah, I'll probably cut right here. I'll duplicate that. It's going to look messy after a certain point. If you really want to, you can make it look all nice and pretty, but I guess for the sake of this, I will. So that's pretty much the finished effect right there. You can be as detailed as you want or as not detailed as you want. Whenever we create films, we try to make it as detailed as we possibly can. But this is the general gist of how to make the Everything Everywhere All at Once verse jump effect.
And if you're looking to learn more about technically writing, shooting, editing, and how to actually create better indie films, be sure to check out our brand new $27 mini filmmaking course. Link in the top right corner and in the description.
But hope you guys got something out of this video. Hope you all enjoyed. And if you have any more questions, please let me know. And I'll see you in the next video.